especially the mobile home park, is totally level. The injuries are too numerous at this point to assess.
For the second time in 13 months, central Kansas is hit by a devastating and deadly example of Mother Nature's wrath. This is an Eyewitness News special 90-minute report, another Kansas nightmare. Good evening, I'm Roger Cornish. It's been nearly 24 hours since a killer tornado ripped through the Wichita area, leaving shocking damage and death in its wake. Most of the deaths occurred in Andover, and that's where Susan Peters joins us now live. Susan?
And Roger, as you said, it's been 24 hours, but even though it has been 24 hours, this community is still, as you say, shocked 24 hours later. But can you blame them? If you can look behind me, I'm just on the opposite side of the street of the trailer park that was hit and so devastated by this tornado. What's happening right now? For the first time, about 10 minutes ago, authorities began taking residents of the mobile home park through their belongings for the first time. Prior to about 10-15 minutes ago, they could not get into the mobile home park to sift through whatever belongings they had left to take it home. So that's what's happening right here at the mobile home park. As you can see also, beyond that, KG&E crews are busy at work and have got some power lines back on here miraculously, because it's been a very, very tough morning. But I don't know if you can see the people back there, but they're just beginning to sift through, to salvage what may be left of their lives, and something very, very tragic also.
And I have never seen anything like this. There's just no words to describe the destruction in this community. This morning I returned to this community and we took a walking tour with the mayor to see some of the area that was the hardest hit, and like I said, just complete devastation. It was just horrible. Other people that have been in this area today, we've had local authorities, state authorities, and even some federal dignitaries in this area, and they surveyed by air. And here's a wrap-up of what has been going on, or what went on in the past 24 hours in this small community of Andover.
Moments after the devastating tornado hit the town of Andover, victims of its fury were being treated in the streets of the small town. Others began rummaging through the piles of debris, searching for any trapped survivors.
Anybody in there? Hello?
The dead and injured were being carried out in pickups as another severe storm moved into the area. As daylight came, the devastation and news of 17 deaths in Andover alone was all too real. For those who survived, it was a chilling experience.
All you could see was just dirt flying everywhere. You couldn't really hear any sound. Of course, I was probably doing a lot of screaming. That's probably why you didn't hear it. It was bad.
When I came out on the porch, it was taking this church up and everything. By the time we got out to the truck and took off, it was in the trailer park, and I headed down Central. They followed me clear out to Santa Fe. And it was just stuff flying all over the place and taking up cows and everything out there on Central.
Down here, about a block on our left or on the east, will be the mobile home park, and on the right side will be the individual residences.
110 homes in the Countryside Estates area, 11 businesses around the intersection of Central and Andover Road, and at least 220 of the trailers in the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park were completely wiped out. Between 200 to 300 residents of the mobile home park did take cover in the park's storm shelter.
When we went down there, we were the first ones there. We sat in our car for 10 minutes or so, you know, and watching the sky and everything. And then we seen people starting to hurry down there, so we figured it was something was going to happen. So we got out of the car and stood at the entrance and looked over to southwest, and we seen this big funnel-shaped thing over there. So then we really got scared, and everybody was trying to get in there as fast as possible.
The park's owner did not know the capacity of the shelter, but he has heard from residents there was room for more at the time of the storm.
It was sufficient. That is, the capacity was sufficient, and the structure was sufficient, and it held well. There was no evidence that people were trying to get in who could not get in. The evidence to the contrary was that there was ample room for more people.
For the past 40 years in Andover, we have used the fire department and the police department and volunteers with sirens to go up and down the streets. 2 years ago, we put in a siren.
The mayor of Andover talked with state and national leaders about the efforts to warn citizens before the storm. After the briefing, the group went up in military aircraft to survey the damage.
From the air, you really understand how widespread and devastating this thing is. You can't really get a feel for it looking at it from the ground. I took a walking tour of Andover, but from the air, you can really see the path of this tornado, and it was just devastating all the way across that southeast end of Sedgwick County and up.
Carries in that convoy included Senator Dole, Senator Kassebaum, Congressman Dan Glickman, and Congressman Dick Nichols, and also Governor Joan Finney, who, after she got back to Jabara Airport, we talked with her, and she declared the eastern third part of Kansas a disaster area. Obviously, that's quite obvious, and all of them were just speechless. They were felt for the people, and they said one positive note though is how all the communities were pulling together. They could see from the air how everyone was helping everyone out, and that was something they really were encouraged by.
Okay, thanks, Shelley. And as Shelley said, there will be no problem, obviously, with the state and federal disaster declaration here in Andover. Kansas Congressman Dick Nichols also here today and said he doesn't think there'll be any problem whatsoever. Little wrap-up here. Now confirmed 17 deaths. That death total down from last night's figure of 22, and there were fears that it could go up to as high as 25 at one time, but now the official death toll here from just Andover is 17. Command post has been set up, food, water, shelter. All day, volunteers have been coming into this area to help the people of Andover. One more thing to tell you, our photographer and several photographers are getting their first walking tour. The media is getting their first walking tour of the mobile home park as we speak. We will get that videotape to you later on in this newscast. So we'll be back then. For now, I'm Susan Peters, live from a still very shocked Andover, Kansas. Roger.
All right, thank you, Susan. Just minutes before Andover was hit by that storm, it roared through other areas of southeast Wichita, and that's where Cheryl Burton joins us now live. Cheryl, I believe you're at Pawnee and Crest, is that right?
Well, it's a very sad situation here. You know, there were several tornadoes that did touch down, so that means widespread damage. And we are here about 2 miles south of Kellogg at the Greenwich Heights housing complex, and if you look over my shoulder, you can see some of the tornado victims still going through their valuables and hoping to find something. But one positive thing, they said they are very thankful to be alive, and we will talk with them a little bit later on to hear about their miraculous story about surviving this tornado. Well, it all began several miles southwest of here. Chuck Weber was there early this morning near Haysville. He now joins us live to tell us about that. Chuck, I know it's a pretty devastating thing, and it's very traumatic. You were out there earlier. You saw the damage firsthand. Can you tell us about what you saw?
Well, really, the area that I was at this morning was where the tornado actually started to gather force in southwest Wichita and southwest Sedgwick County in the Haysville area. Very few injuries to report and no fatalities to report in the area that I was covering today, but there is an electricity problem, and it may continue into next week. KG&E says that a total of 55,000 homes lost power. 90% of those homes are back online, but the area that will be most critical and toughest to get back on is the area west of the Turnpike to Seneca and south of 55th Street South, possibly as late as next Tuesday. And after you look at this report, you can see why. The trail of destruction began intensifying over a ripening wheat field just west of Haysville. More than a dozen homes in this neighborhood took heavy damage. Emergency crews continued to respond to reports of gas leaks here throughout the day. A few minor injuries from the cleanup effort were also reported.
Grandma, here's a bunch of box of papers.
A mile to the east, this is all that's left of the Cox Produce Farm, a family-owned operation in existence for 5 generations now.
It absolutely hit me so hard that I probably will never get over it. Never. You could close your eyes at night and all you could hear was that whoosh, whoosh. Pitiful. It's pitiful.
Should I still save this one?
Family members searched throughout the day for heirlooms of an era past.
Target? Oh, but a tiny little piece.
Hey, Rose.
Right there, where another little heart hoop goes there. Huh. Yeah? There's lots of stuff that could have gotten broke, probably should have been broke, that didn't get it. Big mess. Here, while you're down there. Yeah.
What's up?
I don't know if she wants that doll or not.
Across from the Cox farm, the tornado plowed through another residential area. Again, more than a dozen homes caught the brunt of the destructive force. Along Broadway, more destruction. KG&E crews on the scene all night worked to restore power. Roads remain blocked off. Another hard-hit area sits along the Kansas Turnpike near 55th Street South. More massive damage. Residents here are amazed that no one in their neighborhood died. There are literally dozens of near life and death stories to be told here. One of the most chilling that we encountered was here at the Bob Zimmerman home. Zimmerman says that he saw the tornado less than a half a block away from his home.
I looked at that tornado coming right there, and my brain instantly said, get that baby and your wife down that basement, bar none, and I got just instantly just whoom, pushed them down the stairs. The really scary part was when I seen them going like this, trying to suck them out of there, and I couldn't hardly hold myself, and the only thing I knew to do was fall on top of them and try to hold them down, and maybe we'd make it.
Zimmerman says the help in cleaning up the remains of his home and others is incredible. Next-door neighbor Lloyd Pappin wasn't home when the tornado took out his house, but seemed to take the task ahead of him all in stride.
The insurance policy covers rebuilding, and fortunately we are covered, and nobody in the neighborhood's hurt. We'll see what happens.
From here, the tornado turned deadly as it made its way north towards McConnell Air Force Base in the town of Andover. So again, very few injuries in south and southwest Wichita and Sedgwick County, but widespread destruction and Cheryl, electricity is going to be a problem in that area, possibly according to KG&E, until next Tuesday at the earliest.
All right, well, we'll keep in touch with that. Thanks a lot for your report, Chuck. Unfortunately, there were fatalities in the direction that the tornado picked up strength. It headed northeast and touched down right where we are standing right now in what used to be the garage of the Hinckley home. We will talk with him later. Standing with me now is Lance West. He spent most of the day out here, and he has seen the destruction. He was here early, and he's here to tell us more about it. Lance?
Well, that's right, Cheryl. As the tornado moved northeast, it seemed to gain strength. As you might expect, when tornadoes of this magnitude touch down, they do cause widespread damage. We are obviously seeing that. But what we're also seeing is somewhat unexpected, unbelievable. We're seeing things like 2x4s thrown through cars. We're seeing vehicles dangling from trees, things of this nature. We are also seeing, of course, scores and scores of homes and businesses damaged or destroyed. And with that, unfortunately, comes injury and fatality. We are told now in Sedgwick County, there are 68 confirmed reports of injury, 16 more from McConnell Air Force Base alone. And here in the Greenwich Heights area, we are told of 4 confirmed fatalities. But when you look at all the devastation, all the destruction, it's really hard to believe that the situation wasn't much worse. Airman First Class Ariel Casal risks his life to capture the terror on videotape. As the tornado passes through McConnell Air Force Base, it sucks up buildings, utility poles, even occupants of base housing.
I just heard the awfulest sound you've ever heard, just crashing, you know, the walls coming down, and I thought, oh Lord, this is it. And all of a sudden the bathtub started spinning around on the ground, and then it flipped over on its side, and we started moving really quick towards the towards the parking lot. I was just pounding on the bathtub, screaming as loud as I could. And finally someone heard me and they dug me out. And I'm just lucky to be alive, I tell you.
100 housing units, the NCO club and fitness center are flattened. But perhaps hardest hit, the base hospital. Windows are shattered, the roof is gone, and wrecked cars thrown by the twister rest in the lobby.
It was just unbelievable. It started out, they told us to move from one room into the hallway. They said that was the safest area. The next thing that happened is that they said, get down, get on the floor. My son hit the floor, I covered him. And the next thing we knew, the doors blew open, the wind came in, just such a rush you couldn't believe it. The tiles fell off of the ceiling, the wires came down, chairs were flying down the hallway, and 30 seconds later it was over.
As bad as all this looks, base officials say it could have been much worse. Several hundred yards to the west, the flight line with 17 B-1B bombers. To the south, the enlisted men's dorm, and to the north, military headquarters. All of these areas miraculously untouched.
All of the, so to speak, hardware, the strategic systems, they've been spared, but the rec center, the family life center, the child care center, you know, all the things that the families use, those are the ones that have been destroyed.
Save my music.
2 miles to the east at Greenwich Heights, the destruction is just as heavy. Dozens of homes are damaged, even more are leveled.
All my hummels are gone.
Marilyn Fox lost nearly everything in the storm. Still, she feels fortunate.
We hit the basement steps just not even 5 seconds before it hit. No, we just made it. Not even, I didn't have the radio on. You can't hear sirens out here. Nothing.
Alan Weiss had plans to remodel his 2-story home, but this isn't what he had in mind.
2-story frame house, and it took the top story off. You know, that's where our bedroom was, the bedrooms were. A lot of our stuff was stored up there, you know, things like that. But, you know, we got out alive. We're lucky.
Now the monumental cleanup effort begins. The volunteers from all over are pitching in to help, and Wichita's Mounted Patrol is here to search for victims beneath the debris.
According to the command post here, there's no way of telling if everybody's been accounted for, so we're going to be looking for missing persons.
Because the destruction is so widespread, there's no telling how many homes are destroyed either. What was once a house at 2211 Crest is now a command post for the National Guard. It's fitting these troops are here because folks describe this area as a war zone. And one man I talked to out here really described the scene perfectly. He said it looked like a blender, like it had been put through a blender at high speed. It is just, the entire area is annihilated. One more final note before we throw it back. We were told that the McConnell Air Force Base Elementary School was leveled. There will be no school at that location, obviously, next week. Students will be bused to various school locations in Derby. Now, parents will be notified tomorrow as to the new bus schedule, and we are told that Monday morning, teachers are to report to the Educational Support Center in Derby. Obviously, Cheryl, this is one storm that has affected just about everybody.
It has to. I mean, I'm not a native Kansan, but I can feel what everyone is feeling coming out here and seeing the destruction and talking with all of the victims. It's a real sad situation, and everybody said the positive thing about the whole situation. They're thankful to be alive today, to be able to come back and look for some of their valuables. We're going to go back to Roger right now. He is in the studio with more. Raj?
All right, thank you, Cheryl and Lance. We will have more on this special edition of Eyewitness News on another Kansas nightmare right after this. Hardest hit, the Spurrier Gardens edition in southeast Wichita. Bob Keeling brings us up to date on overnight rescue and relief efforts in that area.
The killer tornado formed south of McConnell and doubled in size as it hit the base. It traveled further north and east, shearing off trees and leveling homes. A group of firefighters searched through the Spurrier Gardens addition for more victims.
To the best of my knowledge, we've had 4 fatalities taken out of this general area, as well as numerous other, some quite serious injuries.
A Sedgwick County firefighter said it was about in this area that they came upon a 2-year-old girl. They tried to revive her, but she had a broken neck, he said, and there was nothing they could do. Sheriff's deputies formed a perimeter outside the area, letting only those with proper ID pass. To the east, homes like Ken and Ruth Snellens were barely recognizable. They were in the Ozarks when they got home about 1 a.m. Saturday. Nearby, a bonfire of personal belongings warmed some of those salvaging what they could. At the Super 8 motel, Ron and Barbara Moore had no luggage, for they just had their clothes and their damaged car. Everything else was gone. But they say they feel lucky. They survived the tornado that hit the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park in Andover. Now they had a free room for the night. Their daughter and granddaughter also made it out.
At this time, I just feel sort of a deep relief that my family is safe.
We feel in Andover. Nothing wrong with Andover. It's a nice place to live.
The Moores say it won't be a mobile home this time. Soon they hope to see what's left of their home. Overnight, many had left their homes, waiting for the dawn that would no doubt bring more devastation and many more difficulties. Bob Keeling, Eyewitness News, Wichita.
What that dawn did is show tornado victims the horrible cleanup job that now lays ahead of them. But at the same time, it brought a ray of hope to the situation in the form of volunteer relief workers from all over Kansas and surrounding states. Kim Setti joins us now with more on the tremendous relief effort underway. Kim?
Well, Roger, it will undoubtedly take months at least to try to take care of the situation, but that job would be an awful lot harder if it were not for the relief workers. We're not just talking about people who are providing shelter, but also people who are providing sweat and love.
I think where you would be best, and I'd like for you to check, is at the Red Cross Center, which is at the church.
As soon as daylight allowed them to, volunteers poured into the outskirts of Andover. Many of the volunteers are Mennonites from the disaster services. Some were hit by the Heston tornado themselves, and some were there last year as volunteers as well.
This is a lot worse than Heston. Heston was bad, but this is a lot worse. They're still finding bodies.
Friends and strangers from all around the area took the day off from their regular work to help, though they faced a far tougher and emotional task today than usual, cleaning out the pieces of people's lives.
It's a real eye-opener. It's a real eye-opener. It's hard to believe until you really see it. You help people they're taking their lives out of their homes and trying to salvage whatever they can. And it's just such devastation.
I saw all the needs out here. There's a lot of work to be done, and I want to do all I can. Took off of work this afternoon and thought it'd be worth coming out.
What made you want to come out when you heard what happened?
Well, it seemed like the right thing to do. I would want somebody to help me if I had this sort of thing.
Red Cross volunteers converted the primary school in Andover into a shelter for the now homeless. They had 20 people stay there last night and expect even more tonight.
We've got 100 in the walk-in, and you all just sent 50, so we're in pretty good shape right now.
But the tragedy didn't take folks' minds off their stomachs. So Pizza Hut donated free pizzas to anyone in Andover who needed a break.
Here we go, Mike. Hey, thanks very much. We appreciate the effort.
They had planned to have free pizzas ready for today anyway.
One of the things we had planned today with the parade downtown, we had like 100 volunteers from Pizza Hut and had a whole bunch of pizza made up to support the effort downtown. Then when that was postponed, then we felt like the thing to do is to come out here and feed all the people that were working that really didn't have anything hot to eat.
But long after the pizzas are gone, there will still be a tremendous mountain for the folks in our area to overcome. And as we said before people can get back on their feet, shelters have been set up all around the area to help folks out. If you're in need of a shelter, here's a list you may want to refer to. Wichita tornado shelters begin at Andover Primary School, White Elementary, Curtis Junior High, Seltzer Elementary, Beach Elementary, a resident of South Fountain, Super 8 Motel, and also the Apex Moving Specialists. They're also volunteering to move people's belongings to storage facilities free of charge. Now, if you want to help and you're wanting to drop off things, here are the places that you can do it. The Salvation Army donation sites are at 136 North Emporia, 2050 West 11th, 13th and West across from Village Inn, and also it is at the Maple and West location for folks who live on the west side of town. If you want to know what to donate, here's a list of what the Salvation Army is suggesting at this point. They are suggesting that suggested donation money to defray the costs. No clothing, they say, until Tuesday or Wednesday. Rake and yard items, that type of thing. And the feeding sites that they have set up, if you're needing a meal, at the White Middle School, at Ed's IGA, which is in Andover, Pawnee and Crest Street area, where we just saw Cheryl Burton. They've got an open area set up down there. Also the Asian Baptist Church. One more thing, if you are still trying to locate some loved ones, the Salvation Army says you can call 263-ARMY. That's 263-ARMY, and they will try to help you locate your loved ones. Also, the Red Cross has set up the number of 268-0800. That number again, 268-0800. It's an awful lot of information, Roger, but considering what we've been through in the past 24 hours, I'm sure it could be worse, and hopefully somebody will get some good out of all that.
That's right. Thank you very much, Kim Setti from the newsroom. Right now, stay tuned for more on one of the worst tornadoes to hit Kansas in a long, long time. Reporter Tracy West joins us in the newsroom now with an update on area hospital efforts. Tracy?
Well, Roger, all area hospital and rescue personnel need to be commended on their efforts last night. It was a chaotic atmosphere, but a very functional one, as victims were brought into emergency rooms one after another. Helen Mayfield is just one of the victims brought in last night.
And it sucked everything out my back door, and I knew then that I had to, so I got down trying to grab a hold of a wall in order that I wouldn't be sucked out.
76-year-old Helen Mayfield is thankful she's alive today. Her cuts and bruises and a broken finger show the horror she lived through as the tornado twisted her around her home in southern Sedgwick County. The tornado hit so fast, Helen and her husband didn't have time to reach the basement. The tornado demolished their home.
When I came to, which I don't think I was ever fully unconscious, I was in the living room, and my husband, I knew he was outside, so I let the blood drip where it was dripping, and I went and found him. I couldn't get to him.
Helen was only one of 145 victims rushed to area hospitals. This was the scene at Wesley Medical Center last night as one victim after another arrived with injuries sustained in the twister. One hospital official described it as the worst disaster he'd ever seen. Despite the chaos, emergency efforts ran smoothly at all the hospitals.
And it's a good thing that we do those practice drills. The employees have responded great. The media's responded great. We've had lots of employees coming to help, in fact, more than we needed, as it turned out. But it's better to have that problem than the opposite.
Once everyone got situated and they knew their place, things went very smoothly, and people just did a fantastic job. Very little confusion once we got going.
Roger, St. Francis received 15 of those victims, Wesley Medical Center 68, St. Joe 62. Of those, 8 are still in critical condition and 9 in serious. We do have names of some of the deceased. Hunia Bebout, excuse the butchering of the name, a 67-year-old female believed to be from the Andover area, was one of the deceased brought into the area hospitals last night. 2 Craven's children, we have their ages 5 and 2, but we don't know their first names, were also killed in the tornado. And Charlene Montgomery, and we don't know where she's from or how old she is. So a very tragic situation, but we will keep you updated on victims and what their conditions are and names of the deceased as soon as we get those in. Roger?
All right, thank you, Tracy. An awful long night for many of the workers of those hospitals. They did a tremendous job.
Yes, they did.
Caring for the injured. Thank you very much. Coming up, we'll show you some amazing videos. Dozens of viewers offering to show you their videotape. We've compiled several minutes of some of the most incredible videotape of a tornado you're ever likely to see. Here it is.
A definite tornado. Man. Awesome. Oh, jeez.
This is going to be a very wide one. Let's check in once again further south.
What's it doing? Oh, I got the whole thing. Now, that's good, honey. Don't go any further closer. Oh, jeez.
The storm continues to move through this part.
Wow.
I've been trying to listen to officers down in the Haysville area to get some more information on that tornado.
Honey, be careful.
It's going to be around 55th South and
is it going away from us?
Officers are reporting maybe
Pardon?
The 15 houses in Haysville that have been damaged by the tornado.
Is it going away from us?
Saying that there's going to be damage in the area of 55th and Broadway and also 53rd Street South.
I sure hope you're right.
We do have reports of a little bit of damage now. A trailer, apparently at least 2 trailers were damaged on Ridge Road, a half mile from 49th Street South. This is
heading back. Do you have any reports, Merrill? Okay, let's go back to Merrill.
Okay, the latest report, the tornado is still on the ground.
If you got an interior closet, get down in it, shut the door, cover up with a mattress or something if you got it. Yeah, I think it's coming straight this way. Heather, you get in there. I'll be there in a minute.
Southeast Wichita, this is your neighborhood. Moving out of the McConnell Air Force Base area into southeast Wichita around Pawnee and Rock Road. The tornado is on the ground. And damage is occurring with this storm. This is a very dangerous storm.
There ain't no place to go. You can't run from one of them.
It's very true. Incredible watching that video. You get an idea of the power of that storm, and there's no wonder why so much damage was done. We'll have more on another Kansas nightmare coming up in a moment. One of the areas hardest hit by last night's tornado. Susan?
That's right, and this is, we haven't shown you the command center yet, Roger, but you can't see too much behind me, but you can see 2 Salvation Army trucks. That's just 2 of many, many trucks and many, many people that have packed this shopping center, the Meadows Plaza, here on Andover Road, here to help out with food, clothing, volunteers that are volunteering shelter, just all kinds of people who, if you need help, will be at the Meadows Plaza. And of course, the organization that's always there when you need them, the Salvation Army, is here. And Major Brotzik of the Salvation Army is here. Thank you for being with us, Major.
Thank you, Susan.
What do you have set up here, and how many people have you helped so far?
We have a command center for us for this area. We have 2 others in other parts of the city. We have a canteen that will take care of people who are victims who are coming in and victims who are still in their home, and also workers, and then people who come to this area. We work with Pizza Hut, and they've helped us to set up another part of the command center. So people can come here and get vouchers for food and clothing and lodging. And also they get something that we call hope and love and care. which is a big part of what people need right now.
Well, probably one of the most important things the Salvation Army gives. About how many people have come to the command center, let's just say here in Andover, or maybe around the Wichita?
We had about 800 at the White School, and we had about the same number at Greenwich and Pawnee, and we had about 1,600 here. So
Not only...
We've had about almost 3,000 people today at lunch.
And obviously it will be set up all through the weekend.
That's correct, and next week as well.
Next week. Not only food and clothing, but also a phone number you can call if you have loved ones that you still don't know about.
Right, 263 Army. We'll get people from all over the country have called to try to find families who are here, and we're still working on that, trying to find everybody so that everyone will know what has happened to their loved ones.
And you'll be here all through the night then?
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the work of the Salvation Army. Greatly appreciated in, obviously, any disaster. At the top of the show, we told you that the media, not only the media, but also the residents of the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park here in Andover were getting their first look since the tornado hit 24 hours ago at their belongings. And if we can show some of that videotape now, as you can see, residents going in for the first time in 24 hours, sifting through their belongings, and our photographer said these folks are still in shock. We talked to people coming out of the mobile home park, and they basically said they can't find much because it's all in one big heap. And one guy came out with a trash bag full, and he said, "This is all we could salvage, Sue, of all our belongings. This is all we could find." As you can see from the videotape, they're still in shock. Some of them couldn't even locate their right mobile home. And there were, we have to tell you, some residents that were upset. We've talked to several, at least a half a dozen, that were angered that they could not get back into the mobile home park before the bulldozers came in. And the bulldozers did come in sometime this afternoon. And I've got with me a couple residents of the mobile home park right now. Your name, please?
Kelly Robertson.
Kelly, and I know you were very upset when you came out of the mobile home park. Why?
Well, I can understand them wanting to bulldoze everything to try to find dead bodies, but if they would have let everyone in, we probably could have found a lot more bodies, and they may have been alive instead of just dead. And I feel it's no right for them bulldozing our property down when we don't have nothing. And it's just not fair. How would they like to have their stuff bulldozed down?
What did you find when you went in there?
Nothing. I don't have nothing at all. It's totally gone.
Found a shovel. A big shovel. We found one shovel. We did. That's all you found of all your property?
That's it. That's it. And a bag full. And that's it.
And that's because?
They were bulldozed. I mean, you couldn't even find a refrigerator. It was stacked so high that if you attempted to go in and pull something, it would probably just all cave in on you. It was just piled everywhere. It was awful.
And you're also a resident?
No, I'm Kelly's dad.
And what'd you see when you went in?
Just junk. They just pushed it up in piles and put other people's where your stuff was, where her stuff was. And we went through it and never found nothing.
It had to have been frustrating not being able to get in all day, too.
Because last night she went in there and stacked everything up to where she could come back today, and they just bulldozed it up and tore it up, and nothing left of it. Nothing.
I wish there was something we could say to bring that stuff back. Any mementos or anything that you could?
Nothing. That's what's so sad. Everything's gone.
What are you going to do now?
Start all over from scratch. That's all you can do. Just start on over.
I want you to know our thoughts and prayers are with you. I wish there was something else we could say or do at this point. A sadder even story to come out of this mobile home park today. As we were standing out in front of the mobile home park, out walks a man, and he was visibly crying, and he was saying he just found his father-in-law, and he was also very upset because, in his words, they had bulldozed some of the stuff over his father-in-law. Obviously, we cannot confirm that, but this man was visibly shaken, crying uncontrollably, and obviously he would not do an interview with us. He would not talk to us on camera, but there are some
may be able to help. Tracy?
Okay, Roger, I'm here with Dr. John Belusic. He's with Wesley Medical Center, a psychologist. We really appreciate you joining us here today. Obviously, we've been watching videotape, people losing possessions, lives. How do people deal with it?
Well, as your reporters have already indicated, there's a variety of emotions that have already occurred and that will continue to occur. There's the sense of panic, there's a sense of loss, there's numbness. Some people will display anger. Some people will have a series of very uncomfortable nights for the next several nights, difficulty getting to sleep and that sort of stuff. All of this is normal, goes along with a disaster reaction. And what it amounts to is a sense of loss. Loss is always followed by grief, and grief is a mixture of emotions.
How do people deal with it?
Well, they deal with it according to their own life experiences, prior experiences in dealing with various kinds of loss, ranging from loss of an animal, loss of a prized possession. All of those things prepare us for dealing with loss. But initially, many people will deal with it, as you've already reported, by getting to work right away, cleaning up the mess. Americans have a particular response to a loss, which, although we've got a diverse culture, Americans tend to adopt the work ethic procedure. Set aside the emotions, don't allow yourself sufficient time for grieving. And one of the dilemmas with that is, of course, you suppress these emotions which are going to work against you. Better to cry, get it out in the open, talk as much as you can about what you felt, what you experienced, and if you had fear, be able to admit the fear.
What about the medical people, the rescue people that are seeing all these terrible, horrible things?
Well, the rescue people, the medical people are in a sense, kind of used to that. They're not used to a disaster of this particular proportion, obviously, but nevertheless, they are well-trained professionals. They are able to deal with that. They undergo stress, too. When you bring in this many injured people and this many people who have died within a matter of hours, that taxes the limits of any human being, including the medical professionals. But they've been trained to deal with it, and they do pretty well.
Dr. Belusic, I know tragedies like this are especially hard on children. How do kids deal with this type of thing?
Children, just as much as possible, the adults that are important in their lives, if those adults will continue to spend as much time...
Talking about the possibility of severe weather in Kansas. So from a meteorological standpoint, it wasn't really a total surprise. As a matter of fact, the Severe Storms Forecast Center yesterday, as every day, puts their outlook of severe weather out about 3 o'clock in the morning for the upcoming day. And this is what it looked like yesterday morning in their 3 a.m. outlook. And this is, of course, the significant area. There are several different categories that the Severe Storms Forecast Center has. You can have general thunderstorms, in other words, just where they think there'll be some, run-of-the-mill thunderstorm activity. Then you can have thunderstorms approaching severe level. Then you can have a slight risk, a moderate risk, or a high risk. Let me tell you something. They don't often go with the high-risk category, but look at the size of the area that they had outlined yesterday morning, from North Texas all the way into southeastern Nebraska and including much of the state of Kansas. And it all, unfortunately, came to fruition. Now, I want to take you back, because this didn't all just start at about 6 o'clock last night. This is about 8 o'clock yesterday morning visible satellite picture with thunderstorms that were already going on in southern Kansas and brought some strong winds early yesterday morning to the Arkansas City area. And as those moved on to the east, there was the first tornado of the day in southeastern Kansas. Why did this all happen? Well, to explain quickly and briefly, see all the clouds from Texas into Oklahoma and central Kansas? Lots of moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. But notice this sharp demarcation line right in here. That was the dry line. Notice there's no clouds in here. That's because that's very dry air. So you've got a clash. Dry air to the west, lots of moisture coming up to the east. And then we have a jet stream. And you can see part of the jet stream associated with it, some high clouds across southwest Texas panhandle. That was coming right up into our area. That provided the spin in the clouds. And there's where those thunderstorms developed, right on that dry line. This is 6 o'clock last night. The storms right over the central Kansas area. Lots of severe weather going on. And as we go on toward darkness, you can see the storms continue to push on to the east. And as I say, this was really not just last night. This was all day long. It started down at 6:52 yesterday morning with 70-mile-an-hour winds reported at Arkansas City. 10:45 in the morning, Cherryvale had a tornado with some damage down in that area. Then it took a break for a few hours, and the first reports started a little after 1:30 and continued until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon in northern Kansas with numerous reports of golf ball-sized hail. And almost just before 3 o'clock in Washington County, a tornado reported went just to the west of the town of Washington. And then the stuff started developing in southern Kansas, about 5 miles south of Kingman. They had baseball-sized hail at 2:35. And then the first tornado report came in from near Freeport. At about 5:26, that storm was later sighted near Argonia before it dissipated. Then the next tornado at 5:38 reported 10 miles south of Conway Springs. Then at 5:48, a tornado that hit Goddard. In fact, that tornado was seen by FAA personnel at the control tower at Mid-Continent Airport. They could see it back off to the west. And then right after that, the first report at 5:57, the big one that went through Haysville and Wichita and Andover. That wasn't all of it, because as we went later into the night, more tornadoes over the eastern sections of the state. One of the other bigger ones was up in northeastern Kansas, developed about 3 miles to the northeast of Topeka and tracked along right up into the Atchison area before it finally fell apart. And the last report of a tornado last night was about 5 miles west of Coffeyville. But here's the track of the storm that went through our area. It began down around Clearwater, hit Haysville, McConnell Air Force Base, over into Andover, then just to the east of Towanda and to the northwest of El Dorado, and it dissipated just about the time it made it into Cassidy. It was altogether too long, a track of somewhere of around 45 to 50 miles, and it was on the ground almost the entire time. And we'll be back a little bit later with some more on your weather for the next several days. Roger.
All right, thank
Which
you.
Heights, a housing complex, and we are in a garage, or what used to be a garage, and if you can look over my shoulder, that car was sitting right here in this garage. It was blown about 100 feet, and it's still sitting there, and the other car has been blown about 400 feet. Those cars were both in the garage, but I'm going to now walk along and show you some of the damage here and what is left over. Frank and Etta Lee have been looking through their rubble and trying to check out what they have that is valuable, and they now join me. Unfortunately, your neighbors did not make it. She was in a house in about maybe 200 feet from here.
Yes, next block and that west of here.
About a block west of here, but fortunately, Edna, you and your husband Frank saw the foresight to run somewhere. Tell me a little bit about that, what happened last night.
Well, we saw the funnel. We could tell it was on the ground west of McConnell. It looked like that's where it was. And our neighbors had always said we could come to their basement, and we certainly did. We ran over there.
And then what happened? How long did it take before you made it to the basement until the tornado touched down and destroyed your house?
What, a minute and a half, 2 minutes? And, you know, we could hear the roar. It does sound like a freight train.
What's it like to come out of your house, in a house across the street, and look out the window or look out into your front yard and see absolutely nothing there?
Just unreal. You can't believe the devastation, and you think, you know, this is a nightmare. I'm going to wake up pretty soon.
It definitely is another nightmare here in Kansas. Now, Frank, I see you sifting through. Is there anything that you can find that is valuable? Have you found anything?
Yes, I found a few things. I lost a lot of silver coins. I found about half of them, dated back before 1964. And I found several dollars, 50 pieces, 50-cent pieces, and $1 pieces. Which I've charmed quite a while. I like to collect the coins like that.
How are you feeling right now to know that your neighbor just outside about a block away didn't make it, and you are here surviving today?
It's really heartening. And we had 2 neighbors. One neighbor was north of this lady that was killed. She was hurt real bad. Her arm was all broken, and her finger was broken. I think she had some chest injuries. But she went to the hospital. She's getting on fine now.
One positive thing, your next-door neighbor's dog was flying around in his doghouse. The doghouse landed maybe about 500 feet from here, but the dog survived. What about a cat that you said you still can't find?
Well, I'm sure we're going to miss her an awful lot. We call her Bluebell, the name of the cat. And so we've looked everywhere for her, and I don't think she's here. I think she's carried down the line somewhere. We don't know where she's at, but we hope to find her.
Thanks a lot for joining Frank and Edna Lee. Good luck. We wish you the best of luck in finding your valuables, and just take it easy, and our prayers will be with you every time we think about what happened last night. Reporting live from Greenwich Heights in Sedgwick County, I'm Cheryl Burton. Back to you, Raj.
All right, thank you, Cheryl. Incredible scene there in southeast of Wichita with the destruction.
Yesterday, unfortunately, some bad news is that it looks like rain is going to be moving into the state of Kansas late tonight and tomorrow. The good part of that situation is we are not expecting any severe weather. Most of what should be moving across the state tomorrow and tomorrow night, maybe lingering into Monday, should just be rain. There may be a few isolated thunderstorms, but at this point we're not expecting any severe weather. Temperatures right now over the state are in the 60s with a couple of 70s in eastern Kansas. Winds are kind of variable out there. Some places, southerly winds about 15 to 20. In other places, especially in eastern Kansas, we still have northerly winds under 10 miles per hour. The big satellite view from late last night, and you can still see all that thunderstorm activity as this storm front has continued to push on to the east. And this afternoon, there's a lot more severe weather going on over the southeastern United States, all the way back down into Texas. You can see those new storms that have developed in the last couple of hours in northeastern Texas, moving into portions of Arkansas and Louisiana. But here's what we're watching. More clouds out through Colorado, back into the Utah area. We had thought yesterday that this system was going to dive down toward New Mexico and scoot well to the south of Kansas, but unfortunately it doesn't look like that way. It has not pushed as far to the south as we had expected, and now looks like it's going to move maybe down toward the Texas Panhandle and then sweep on to the northeast tomorrow night and Monday, which leaves Kansas in the track for some more rain. And again, I want to emphasize right now, we don't expect to see any severe weather with this, but we certainly are going to be looking at some rain around the state, which will at least hamper some degree the cleanup efforts around our area. Right now, the cold front that helped touch off all the yesterday's severe weather is well off to the east now. Thunderstorms and rain showers out ahead of it. Behind it, rain and snow in the higher elevations. Some places in northern Colorado picked up 8 inches of snow yesterday and last night. Those clouds will be heading on eastward tonight and tomorrow. Here in Wichita today, a high of 69 after a morning low of 42, and we didn't get to show you this yesterday. Yesterday's rainfall total officially here in Wichita was 1/4 of an inch, although, of course, in some parts of town, it was probably double and triple that. But that's what they had out at the airport, the official location. Partly cloudy, with a chance of some rain showers toward morning in western sections of the state, or certainly after midnight, and increasing clouds elsewhere with lows from 35 in the northwest to 47 in the southeast. And then high temperatures tomorrow, not warming up a lot with cloudy skies, rain across the state with the chance of thunderstorms, mainly in the southeastern part of Kansas, with highs ranging from a milder 71 in the southeast to only around 50 for the Goodland area. And our extended outlook says we'll continue a chance of showers on Monday. That should be ending by about midday, I think, and then Tuesday and Wednesday look like they will be dry days. Thursday, another chance of thunderstorms. Of course, much too early to tell right now whether there might be any severe weather.
No, but to relieve some fears, nothing severe.
We are not expecting any severe weather.
He was here fairly early this morning, along with Senator Bob Dole, Nancy Kassebaum, and a couple of congressmen also. She took a look, and obviously there's going to be no problem declaring much of Sedgwick and Butler County state and federal disaster areas. We talked to her right after she toured the area. Here's what she had to say.
Just made me heartsick, really. The devastation was certainly more severe than I had even anticipated from reading about it. The widespread, and there's got to be terrible suffering there on the ground with these families, and not only those who lost their loved ones, the ones that are hospitalized, but of course the loss of property and unrecoverable. It's a devastation that it's certainly a serious time and a sad time for Kansas. I have declared a state of disaster emergency for 1/3, the eastern third of the state. And we will be leaving here and going on to Nortonville to see that damage and assess the damage up there.
What areas are you talking about your state of emergency or your disaster? What more specifically?
Well, of course, the Andover is the most severe, and but they're all severe. The Haysville area and the areas within the southern part of the city of Wichita itself. The McConnell area, of course, the hospital there was hit, and I understand that those patients were transported into the city to one of the local hospitals. The members of the 137th Infantry of the Kansas National Guard moved rapidly. And when they were ordered in there, and I commend them for the job they're doing, there are 237 members in there. The Highway Patrol moved rapidly too, and certainly are serving well, but we want to give the people of this area all of the help that we can. I ask the people of Kansas to offer their prayers for them. They certainly need them because this is a sad day for Kansas.
Governor Finney said it all. This is a sad day, sad weekend for Kansas. I don't know if you can see in the background, but the cleanup continues. This is people that this truck that just came out of the mobile home park, and those are the belongings that they could salvage. It looks like there's a motorcycle there and a couple of boxes that they had brought to put some of their belongings in. But as we said before, people are not rescuing many belongings out of the mobile home park. But here to help, as I said, there's a bright side. There's a lot of people here to help, and if I could just have Sergeant Richard Blecka and Lieutenant James Covey. Sergeant Blecka is with the Air Guard. Tell us what the Air Guard's doing out here in Andover.
Well, as my understanding is, they put some people down here from both the Topeka and Wichita area to do what they could. My function, I'm with the Civil Air Patrol today. As far as what the other units are formally doing, I am not familiar.
What have you, as an Air Guardman, ever seen something like this before?
I've not participated in this type of a mission before. However, I've had several people that have. I was, when the tornadoes went through Grand Island, Nebraska, I was helping with that. This certainly is a tragic situation, and we've tried to get as many of our individuals with Civil Air Patrol down here to help us as possible. We've got units from Topeka, Wichita, El Dorado, and Junction City helping us.
All around. And your help is people are very, very grateful for it. Lieutenant James Covey from the Civil Air Patrol.
Cooey, Susan.
Cooey, I'm sorry. And you're out here today?
Yes, we've been out here.
What's your fun? Okay.
Okay, we've been helping keeping the non-emergency vehicles from going into the parking lot over in front of the command post. And that's been our main function.
How's it been going? People pretty cooperative?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of volunteers, and we send those people in one direction, and the people wanting the passes to get into their homes, they have to go to a certain place, so it needs to be sorted out, and a lot of it's done right out in the middle of Andover Road.
Yeah.
It's terrific traffic jam, and then this afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Still asking sightseers to stay away, though, aren't you?
Yes. In fact, when I came in here today, I couldn't believe, having never been in one of these situations, how much congestion there was trying to get to it. And it would be hard to imagine the real emergency vehicles trying to get through. This afternoon, about 4 o'clock, they let the Civil Air Patrol units go into the damaged area and help some of the homeowners sort through the rubble, right. trying to pick up stuff and what belongings they could find, and it's very bad, very bad.
Very emotional.
And as far as we know at this time, we'll be doing basically the same duties tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you very much for being with us, and I'm sure everybody in Andover thanks you, both organizations, for being out here. So that's a story from Andover. As we know now, 17 dead, but as I said at the top of the show, just as of 4:30 this afternoon, they were still pulling out one, possibly two, what we think are bodies from the mobile home park. Very, very sad day and weekend in Andover, but everybody does, Roger, seem to be pulling together to help and do what they can to make the best of what has been one of the worst tragedies Kansas has seen. For now, I'm Susan Peters.
Army's number 263 Army. And this is for those of you wanting to know about family members or loved ones who may have been victims of this tornado. You will need to give the victim's name and address, of course, and your relationship to them, and then provide your own phone number. Rather than tie up the phone lines for a long time, the Salvation Army will check on it and then call you back when they have figured out the situation with the person you're wondering about. Some Wichita tornado shelters, and this is for those who are homeless because of this. Obviously, if you're homeless, you're probably not watching this, but if you know of someone who needs help, you can take them to the Andover Primary School. That's in Andover on North Main Street there. White Elementary in Wichita, 5148 South Kansas. Curtis Junior High on Edgemore between Lincoln and Harry. Seltzer Elementary at 903 South 127th East. Beach Elementary at 1830 South Cypress. A private residence at 139 South Fountain. Also the Super 8 Motel, as we showed you last night. They're opening up and allowing rooms to be used by victims at Webb and Kellogg. Also Apex Moving Specialists. They are offering to help move things from your home to another storage area if necessary. The White Middle School, 5148 South Kansas, Ed's IGA at 160th Street and Central. These are the feeding sites for those who are homeless or those who are helping out. Obviously, you still need to be fed. The Salvation Army helping to provide the food here. White Middle School, Ed's IGA, Southeast Wichita, Pawnee, and Crest, and the Asian Baptist Church at 3401 East 47th Street South. Some road closings. These roads, as far as I know, still closed. The main roads south of Wichita, Broadway and Seneca, both closed from 55th Street South to 63rd South. Meridian is closed from 55th South to 71st, and Rock Road from Pawnee to 47th Street South. This is the area along McConnell Air Force Base. And again, we want to stress that if you're wanting to go out and look at these areas to sightsee, emergency workers are asking that you not do so. You'll just be in the way. This type of damage, this extent of damage, is not going to go away overnight. You're going to have weeks, if not months, to take a look at this and take pictures and so forth. And right now, the emergency crews need you off the streets, and so they can do their work. Merrill, we want to ask again about this storm, and it developed. It should have been no surprise to anyone, and we tried to warn as many people as we could about this. And
the warnings were certainly out there, and I know I heard earlier in the newsroom people saying that, did the sirens go off or didn't the sirens go off in Andover? And in fact, I ran into a sheriff's deputy this morning on my way into work, and he had been out working in Andover this morning, and he said he was home in Wichita, was in bed, and heard about it, was called out to go out, and he doesn't understand how people couldn't have heard about it one way or another. Certainly, there are a number of kudos that have to go around. The National Weather Service did a great job with this, and especially I know from the way things went here in our weather center, the ham radio operators who were tracking the storm. They're trained storm spotters who out there were on top of this thing. They had it blanketed, and much of the information we were giving to you last night was from the storm spotters who were giving us minute-by-minute tracking of the storm so we could let you know where it was.
We lost some lives, but certainly a lot more were saved by those people.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Merrill. Speaking of lives being lost, in Cowley County, an isolated area 3 miles east of Winfield took a direct hit from the tornado. One woman was killed there. Another person was killed in Howard. The tornado we're talking about in Cowley County moved from the southwest to the northeast corner of the county in the 23-mile wide swath there. Again, this has been a special Eyewitness News report on another Kansas nightmare, a tornado about 24 hours ago, killing at least 24 people. We'll have more coming up tonight at 10 o'clock on Eyewitness Weekend with Cheryl Burton. Have a good evening.
Oh, jeez. It is beginning to come to the ground, and this is going to be a very wide one. Let's check in once again further south.
What's it doing? Oh, I got the whole thing. Now, that's good, honey. Don't go any further closer.